Hello, everybody. I will just give us a second to all hop on. So excited to be talking to you guys about this today. We are talking about how to unblock your abundance flow, and for some reason Instagram's not working again, so we're just gonna wait a moment for everyone to join. Let's see if any other people wanted to join the group. If you are joining us, do you want to just let me know where you're from? I love it when you guys like chat in the comment box because it's kind of nice to know how things are landing with you, and I don't feel like I'm just like sitting here alone. So I've got like my citrine crystals sitting next to me on the desk because I felt like we're talking about abundance. Citrine is like the crystal of abundance, so I just feel like we needed it for the vibes. But hi everybody, do you want to let me know where you're joining from? I'm so excited that you guys are here. So excited to be talking about this. Money mindset is like literally one of my favorite things to work with people on because it's just like it always blows me away like where our money stuff comes from. Like San Francisco, amazing. I haven't been to San Francisco in a really long time, but I went when I was a kid and it was so beautiful. Um, but yeah, like our money mindset stuff, it's like hi Bridget. Yes, I'm here for the citrine vibes. It's just so interesting seeing where people's stuff comes from around money because I think a lot of us, like when we do money mindset work, we're kind of coming at it from our conscious mind, and most of the things that we've stored around money, it's been really interesting. I've been noticing a lot of my clients when we work on their money beliefs start showing up for them around like 7 or 8 years old. And I don't know if that's what, just because like 7 or 8 is sort of the time that you start becoming aware of money, if that makes sense. Like I think when you're like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, you're not really aware of like what money is. You don't really fully understand that concept. And so I think it's really interesting. People's money blocks seem to originate from around the ages of like 7 to 8. I know when I had like an RTT session done on me, like pretty much every single memory was from the age of 8 years old. So I thought that was really interesting. I'll just give it another couple moments and then we will hop into things. There will be a replay, so if anyone misses the beginning part of it, they can just watch that. But yeah, let's get started. So hello, if I didn't say that to you already. I'm Kim A. Craig, and if you don't know, I am a rapid transformational therapy coach, and I work with female entrepreneurs to unblock what's holding them back from the success they want and giving them the tools they need to achieve all of their dreams through reprogramming their subconscious and working with manifestation. And my manifestation practice is really rooted in neuroscience and psychology. I love the woo-woo, but I also love knowing how things are backed up with science. And I think especially when we're getting into manifestation, it's really helpful to understand how your brain works a little bit because that's where the manifesting is happening. It all starts within you. So I think it's really powerful to understand how your brain works. So, today we're talking about how to get into your flow of abundance, which, like I was saying before, it's a topic I'm so passionate about because when you run your own business, it's so important to unblock your money flow because you really become the energetic barometer for money. Because, like, a lot of us were used to the idea of like going to work and getting a paycheck, but then when we start to run our businesses, it's like we get a little bit caught up because we're like, how is money meant to come to us? Like all our money stuff really starts to come to the surface because we don't have like this thing where we're getting paid every 2 weeks. So all the beliefs that we have about money, they really start to come up to the surface. So today we're talking about how to get out of scarcity mode, how to uncover what our limiting beliefs are around money, how to shift out of being triggered about money, and how to start calling in more by raising your self-worth so you can attract in more money, because your self-worth really ends up being your net worth. Like how you feel about yourself and how you value yourself, how worthy and deserving you feel about money, is really how much you're able to call in. And so I'm so excited to be talking about this because this was a huge thing for me, that when I started to work on this, things shifted in a big way. So, a little bit of a backstory. I first started my business as a photographer when I was 19, and I thought the key to success was just to like work harder and like hustle more and get more jobs. And I got really confused and burnt out, and I didn't understand why I wasn't making the money that I wanted to, even though I was working really hard. And if you've ever felt like that, let me know in the comments. I know this is a big one for a lot of people, so I just want to see, like, have you guys ever felt like that? And when I started to do the work on digging into my subconscious, I realized that I had beliefs around money, like you don't get paid to be an artist, there's no money in it, you don't get paid to do what you love, or you can work really hard and still people might not pay you, or your money isn't consistent. And I also just had really low self-worth, and I realized that like money is always available to us, but like I was the one who was blocking myself from that flow. And so when I started to do the work around shifting this, money started showing up in the most incredible ways, like in ways that you couldn't even predict. Like, for example, it was like years after this, and I got people like messaging me asking if they could like purchase a license to print my photos for like a project they had, or I got like someone stole, like a brand stole a photo that I had taken of myself, and then like through working with a friend who was a lawyer, we like sent them a cease and desist letter, and I actually ended up getting like $1,000 out of it when I technically hadn't done any work. Like money started showing up in the most insane ways. And so then I really started to realize like money responds to who you are being. It's not necessarily what you're doing. And like when I really did my first RTT session, or had my first one done on me, it was like all the marketing efforts that I had been working on so hard before and like not seeing any work, I ended up like scaling that back and doing less and somehow making more money. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting, because it's like I had this aha moment that it wasn't necessarily the outward action I was taking, it was like who I was being and what I believed about money. Yes, I feel you, Bridget. I was definitely, hi, I feel you on that. I definitely spent a long time like being in burnout, and money did feel like it's really hard. I totally get you. A lot of people have that. They have this belief that money has to be hard, and because we believe that, then that's what shows up for us. So I just wanted to like emphasize to you guys that like I'm not really any different than you. Like I didn't start life out with like really rich parents or anything. Like my parents are obviously supportive of me, but we were very much like a middle class family. Like yeah, I always had food on the table, like I went to a good school and stuff, but like I went to a private school, and I think probably being on like the lower income end of like students who went to that school, I was just so aware of the disparity between like me and the other kids I went to school with. Like I felt like they always had more than me. They were able to like do all the things that I wanted to do. And so it really is like none of the things about how you grow up and what you believe about money, or like all of those things that you start to believe, are really what affects like your money mindset. But the amazing thing is like we create the beliefs that we have out of what we saw around us, and if we created those beliefs at one point, then we can change them. And when you do the work to reprogram your subconscious, and I really like I went deep on this, like I worked on everything, like my self-worth, the money blocks, like I've done so many sessions around every single last limiting belief I had around money. And that's okay. Sometimes it doesn't come from your family, and sometimes it doesn't affect you in ways that you think of. Um, I'll kind of go a bit more into this later, but also like the things that we pick up are like the cultural conditioning. And so it's like some examples of this are like people have this attitude around like rich people are evil, or like money doesn't grow on trees, or like if you're poor, you're not working hard enough. Like, we kind of have like this societal conditioning that also gets programmed into us, and that also informs what our story around money is. Yeah, 100%. And that's like such a huge one too. All right, so today we are talking about understanding like where your money blocks are coming from. The first thing when it comes to manifesting more money is understanding like where those money blocks are coming from, because sometimes it's generational, sometimes it's like ancestral, sometimes it's like I was saying before, it's like from what society says to you, sometimes it's like, just as an example, I had a client the other day, and like the first memory that he went back to is he was 6 years old. He found like $20 when he was like out in the park or something. So he's like 6 years old. He's found this $20. He's super excited about it. And so he's like going home to show his parents. And then he was like playing with the money or whatever, and then he lost it somewhere in the bushes. And so to the little 6-year-old version of him, the meaning he created out of that event is he was like, oh, maybe I'm not worthy of having money because like this $20 came to me. And then yeah, absolutely, there will be a replay. And then he's like, okay, this money came to me, and then now I've lost it. Maybe I'm not worthy of having money. And then as we dived into his other beliefs, like he had this huge thing around like feeling not worthy of money. And so it's like really these little things where it's like, if you as an adult looking back remembered that you were 6 and you did that, you'd be like, that's not affecting my money story. But it was actually affecting him in a really big way. And so when those things happen to us when you're younger, like from between the ages of 0 to 7, you're pretty much in a hypnotic brain state, being programmed by what you see happening in the world around you. We don't have that conscious mind developed yet that can really be the rational part that can be like, oh, that makes sense or that doesn't. And when we're 0 to 7, we really think everything that happens is about us. It's like something happens and that kid makes it mean like, I'm not good enough, or my parents are leaving. So they're like, well, they're leaving me. I'm being abandoned. They don't have that foresight of being like, oh, my parents are going to work kind of thing. So the stories we absorb around money during that time, they really stick with us, and it gets really programmed into what we believe about the world. Like, we're basically in that hypnotic brain state as children. And so the things that happen to you then, they get locked in your subconscious. And then your subconscious is like projecting out 95% of your behavior. Only 5% of your behavior is actually coming from your conscious mind. And so that's why when we have these patterns around money, it's like that's what's locked in your subconscious. You can't easily access it while you're like awake and walking around thinking about it. So you're not really thinking like, oh, this thing happened to me at 5 or 6 years old, and now that's why I believe this about money. We kind of just see that pattern like getting played out over and over again. And it's like I was kind of saying before, with like these kind of like sayings or anecdotes that people say about like money being the root of all evil, or rich people are evil. And like, say if you are operating on that as a belief, not everyone will have the same ones, but just as an example, then like your subconscious is always trying to keep you safe. So if you think like rich people are evil, then your subconscious is like, okay, well, if you're evil, everyone will reject you. So to keep you safe, I'm going to make sure you're never rich, because that way you won't be evil and you won't be rejected. It's always just trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe. So there's always like a backstory to like why it's adopted that behavior and like why it thinks it's a good idea. And so we really need to be able to get into your subconscious to find out like what are the things that we believe about money and why do we have those blocks. Like I had this, as an example, I had like a client who felt like she just could never get to her next level. And like, it was kind of what I was saying before, but we did some digging, and the reason that she couldn't get to that next level is because she thought that she couldn't make more money than her parents. And if she made more money than her parents, it's like it wouldn't work out for her, or she would be rejected, or she wouldn't be safe. So it's like these things are really deeply ingrained in you, and that's why we need to go into the subconscious to find out what's going on in there so that we can change it. And the way that I love to do this is through rapid transformational therapy. It combines like hypnosis, NLP, CBT, and psychotherapy. And basically what we do is we go back to the 3 memories that are the root cause, the reason of why you have this particular pattern around money or this money story. And we find out what's the meaning you created from that event, because it's never what actually happened to you. It's the meaning you create out of the event. And then we reprogram and can overwrite those beliefs. So then you start projecting out new things on a subconscious level. And then that's when you get to see like that change in your environment and like that shift in beliefs. And so, kind of how I was saying before, is like your mind is always trying to make sure that it can keep you safe. It's trying to protect you. Normally, sometimes when we have a block, that block usually has like one of three reasons: it's to protect you, it's to punish you, or it's to get you attention. So, it's like your mind has decided that that thing is there because it's either going to keep you safe, or on some level, you believe that you deserve to be punished. We see this in examples of like people who come back from like wars and they have PTSD and they're just reliving this trauma over and over again. And then you kind of are like, they do a bit of work and then it's like they don't want to let go of it because they feel guilty that their friends died and they survived. Yes, there is still room in the 90-day accelerator. I have one spot left at beta pricing, and then after that there is going to be a price going up, but there's still one spot available at $14.97. And so that's why like the people like war veterans come back and they're reliving that trauma because they think they deserve to be punished for like surviving. And this is very subconscious behavior. It's not like if you so interesting. Diving into your like past lives and seeing like what that generational trauma is from your mom is really, really interesting because I actually had a lot of stuff like that. Me and my mom have like a very deep karmic tie where like in this lifetime we came to teach each other a lot of lessons. So I would definitely encourage diving into that. It's really, really revealing. And when you heal it, it's incredible the changes that you see. Like our relationship is so different now. And it's like she hasn't done any work on herself, but I've done the work and it's changed it completely. So, and then the third thing is to attract attention. Sometimes it's like people have a subconscious cry for help. It's like they think that by them being, or they don't think it, but like in their subconscious feelings, they think by them having this behavior, it's going to get them the help they need. It's like that cry for attention. So yeah, sometimes it's like when you have your block, keeping in mind, even if you want to do a bit of like conscious inquiry, it's like, what could this block be doing for me? Is it trying to protect me? Is it punishing me? Is it trying to get me attention in some way? And so the third thing that's really important with attracting money and like raising your money frequency basically is self-worth. And it all comes down to like you and feeling worthy and deserving of what you're trying to call in. Because if you don't feel worthy and deserving of whatever it is, sometimes we'll get to the level of what we wanted and then somehow we'll like manifest ourselves getting out of it really quickly because we don't have the worth and deserving that thinks that we deserve that to have that thing. And just as an example, it's like how people win the lottery, and they've done studies on this, and it's like they win millions of dollars and then they can't hold on to that level. So they like, most of them, they go into bankruptcy or they're like worse off than they had been before they won all that money because they haven't expanded their energetic worth for having that amount of money. And it feels unfamiliar to them. And your brain is always looking to recreate the familiar, wants to avoid the unfamiliar because it deems that unsafe. And so it'll bring you back to wherever it felt comfortable with before. You see this with a lot of celebrities as well. Like they make a lot of money really quickly and then they don't know how to handle having that level of success. So they subconsciously sabotage themselves. Like they get drug addictions, they spend all their money, they like hand off their money management to someone who doesn't have their best interests at heart. And it's all coming from a place of low self-worth. And so the next thing, or I just wanted to check, do you guys have any questions about that? Or anything that's come up for you around it? I'll just give you a moment to like ask. Because I just want to make sure that like, yeah, what I'm saying is clear to you. And the next thing we're chatting about is unblocking your money flow. Yes, 100%. That book, Upper Limit, it's like so, pardon the pun, but it's so on the money with like, we don't believe we're worthy of having that level of success. So then sometimes we manage to get to it somehow, and then we will very quickly get out of it because it feels really bad to us. Even like consciously, we think that we want it, but when we get there, we're like, I don't feel worthy or deserving of this. It's like, say, as an example, like, I don't know, when I was like younger, I'd like always want to go into like the designer stores, but it's like you walk by the door and you're like, oh my God, can I even go in there? Like, it's like this feeling that you don't deserve to be there. And so, because you feel like you don't deserve it, you're like just gonna block yourself from doing it because it doesn't feel right to you. But anyways, okay, I'm blocking your money flow through your subconscious. So if you remember what I was saying before about how like 95% of your behavior is controlled by your subconscious, that's why we can really be like, "Oh, I want to have a 10K month," but like it's not working for us even though we might be working really hard. So, to do the work to unblock your beliefs, you really need to be working with your subconscious because yeah, money being inconsistent is another one too, because I had that as well. It gets to be consistent, but it's like we need to unblock everything that's telling us that it doesn't get to be consistent. So that's why we really need to work with our subconscious mind. I like to think of it as like an iceberg, and the top of the iceberg is just like a little tiny part of it, and that's your conscious mind. It's your thinking mind, it's the rational part of your brain that's like making decisions. But then there's the rest of the iceberg underneath the surface, and that's like the 95% that's your subconscious, and it's really controlling all your behavior because it's controlling your feelings. Your subconscious mind is really where the feelings come from, and we act based on our feelings. We make decisions based on our feelings. We don't do it from logic. And just as an example of this, it's like, say you want to buy this pair of shoes and they're like more than you can afford. Your conscious mind will be like, don't do it, it's a bad idea. But the feeling is like you really want them, and so you're probably just going to buy them anyways, even if like it consciously isn't the best decision for you. And that's because we purchase and make all our other behavior from our feeling part of our mind. So we really have to pay attention to the feeling of that. And so with your subconscious, it's like you can't easily access it like in the brain state that you're in right now. Like, for example, your brain has like the different wave patterns, and right now it's like we're talking to each other, we're thinking consciously, we're not accessing like that deep subconscious part of your mind. You can't get there through just talking about it, which is why some people go to like talk therapy for years and years and years, and they still don't get to their problem because they're just talking about it with your conscious mind. And like your subconscious is also the part of you, it like keeps your heart beating, and it like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it's like you drive home after work and you realize that you haven't been paying attention, and then you get in your driveway and you're like, how did I even get here? And it's because your subconscious was doing the work to get you home. And it's like because you've done it so many times, those neural pathways are formed, and so your subconscious is like driving you home pretty much while your conscious mind is just like taking a break and like going off somewhere else doing whatever. So, like I was kind of mentioning before, I help people access their subconscious mind in rapid transformational therapy because RTT works with hypnosis to get you into that brain state. And some people have a weird feeling about hypnosis, and that's usually based off of like stage shows where the person like makes you pretend you're a chicken or something. And that's just one thing you can do with hypnosis, but that's not what we're doing with it in rapid transformational therapy. Hypnosis is basically a sleep of your conscious mind. It's a sleep of your nervous system. You're fully awake, but you're in a very relaxed brain state, and you're able to access your subconscious. And so through doing that, like I kind of mentioned before, we're able to get back to the root cause of it. And because your subconscious is storing everything that happens to you even before you were born. When babies are being like formed in the womb, one of the first parts of your brain to form is called the amygdala. We're going a little bit scientific here, but like stick with me because it's really interesting, I think. And your amygdala is actually what controls fear. It's like the part of our brain that was kind of designed to be like, oh my God, something scary is happening. Like instead of you just thinking about what you're going to do, it puts you into action really quickly so you can get out of there and have a higher chance of survival. And so the amygdala is the part that feels fear, and that part actually is like one of the first parts of your brain that's formed, which is why babies can feel afraid in the womb. And sometimes I've had people in sessions, they regress back to being in the womb. Like they remember like things their parents were saying about them, and then they go, can overthink is... Yes, absolutely. Everyone can get into hypnosis. That's the thing is, like the way that we do it, it's like I'm coaching you through what to do, but technically you're doing it to yourself, which is why I think it's really empowering. It's not like I'm ever forcing you into a state that you don't want to be in. That's okay. It's totally normal. I love that you're asking questions. It's like no question is a bad question. If you have that question, probably other people do too. So sometimes when people are overthinking things, they have like a fear that they're doing it wrong or they're like thinking about it too much. But when we go into hypnosis, we have a lot of deepening exercises that I walk people through. And depth of trance is not actually linked to your results. So I think that's really freeing because, first of all, you don't have to worry, like, am I deep enough or anything? Like, the thing to really know is is you can't do it wrong, which I think is really empowering. So, for everyone I've worked with and everyone that like all the people I know who've worked with, it's never an issue. Like you're always able to get there. So I wouldn't stress about that. And so in RTT, it's like we really can go back to the root cause of the thing. And like I've kind of shown you with the examples, it's never really what you think it's going to be. It's usually like something that as a child, it seemed like a huge thing for you. And then with your child's perspective, you've created a meaning out of that thing, and you're carrying that meaning with you through your whole life, and then it just becomes a perpetuating thing because we have what's called neuroplasticity, and this just basically means like how elastic and plastic your brain is. Your brain isn't like a thing that's fully formed and it's done. You're always able to create new neural pathways. And so if you have a particular behavior or patterning that's coming from a long time ago, those pathways will be really worn down. It's really easy for your brain to go down that track and go through that pattern. But with hypnosis, we can actually overwrite that and create a new pattern for you. Yes, so good. There is the thing that I really like to point out to people that is the difference between just doing straight hypnosis and RTT is that RTT, we really seek to find what the root cause is and reinterpret the meaning of it. Whereas sometimes just straight hypnosis, it's kind of like you're putting a band-aid over an issue that's still there. Like it's like, yes, you can get a certain level of success by being like, I'm imprinting these new beliefs, but we haven't still removed that original thing that was causing the symptom. So I just wanted to like explain in case anyone was wondering, because that question comes up a lot. And yeah, it's like a lot of people really enjoy being in hypnosis too, because your mind does get a break, because your conscious mind that's like overthinking gets to sort of just like go off to the side and have like a bit of a nap. And so the way that I really like to combine like RTT with manifestation is that like if we think of manifestation as just like you're making something real, whatever your reality is, it's going to be different for everyone because your reality is just a projection of what you believe on a subconscious level. And that's why, you know, how I was talking to you before about how I was doing the same marketing activities, but after I had like worked on those beliefs, I saw different results and I wasn't really doing a lot of different action. I was just changing what I believed. And then it's like, it's incredible for me when I saw that happen within me. I was like shocked and amazed. But now it's like I talk to my clients and they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. So with rapid transformational therapy, we really get to the root cause. Like, I'm just gonna give you a bit of an analogy that I really like. And so pretend we have like a stain, like a water stain on your ceiling. And so that water stain is there. And so, for example, in talk therapy, we would be like, okay, let's get together every single week and talk about the fact that the water stain is there and maybe how it showed up. But we're just gonna come back every week together and talk about it and just talk about how there's a water stain there. And then so regular hypnosis will be like, okay, we've painted over the water stain. So now we've like painted over it and like it looks nice and new. But if you keep going over time, like that water stain will probably keep coming through because you haven't gotten to the root cause of why the water stain is there. And so with RTT, we would like pull out the ceiling and like go upstairs and maybe find out that there was a pipe that was leaking. And so we would change the plumbing, fix the pipe, and then we would put the ceiling back and then we would paint over it, and that water stain isn't going to come back because we fixed the root cause of the water stain. So let me know if that kind of makes sense to you. But like I was saying before, sometimes it's really incredible when I work with people around unblocking their money flow. It's like I get messages from them being like, wow, I've literally doubled my income in a month, or like I got like a $20,000 grant for my business. Like the money is always there. I like to think of it as like money is always around us. It's like radio frequencies. Like the radio frequencies are always around us, and we can tune into them if we put the radio onto the right station. And sometimes it's like we're not able to get to the right station because for whatever reasons, maybe we don't know what the station is, but it doesn't mean the money's not there. Like it's always there and it's always available. Like money is just an energy and it's always responding to you and how you feel and what you believe. And like, if you really think about it, like money in itself is a made up human concept. Like, we decided that these pieces of paper were going to have a value and we were going to give them to each other and exchange it for things. And the reason that we started doing this is because before, like, people were like, I'm going to trade my goat for like your chickens. And it was really impractical to be carrying around goats and chickens all the time, or maybe someone didn't want chickens and all you had was the goat. So, like, you were kind of stuck in that sense. So, it's like we made up money as a way to assign value to something so we could trade with each other and just have that energetic exchange to be easier. So, the money is not the actual thing that's blocking you from having that abundance. It's like we need to tune into that flow of abundance and we need to unblock everything that is keeping us from feeling like we can have that abundant flow. Because when we're in a state of abundance, it's like we have our needs taken care of. We're able to trust in the universe. We're able to trust that what we have to offer is worth exchanging for other things, and we trust that we get to be taken care of. And so like that money is always trying to flow to you. It's like we've almost like just kinked up our own hose and like we've stopped it from coming through because of like what we believe and what we're projecting on it. And then also, the other thing that I wanted to talk about that is so important to me is getting out of hustle mode and into alignment. Like I was talking about before, like you can hustle until like your eyes bleed and you still won't necessarily be making the money that you want to make. So if you got my email about this training before, I told you about the story of how like when I started my business as a photographer and I was 19 and I didn't know anything about running a business, and I thought the secret to success was you just had to like work harder and harder. And I was working my butt off, like trying to get my photography career off the ground. And I got to a point where I like made myself so sick that I got like stomach issues from how stressed out I was. And I was like making enough money to get by, but it like was not the abundance that I really would have wanted. And I felt like really confused because I was like, well, I can't work any harder than what I'm doing. So what am I supposed to do? Like, I got to the point where I was like lying on the floor in my apartment in Toronto and just like in so much pain because of my stomach. And I was like, if this is what it takes to become successful, like, I don't want to compromise my health. I'm tired of feeling like this. I was like really close to giving up. And I didn't give up though. After that, I moved to Australia, which is a whole other story. But I discovered RTT, and that's like when I had my light bulb moment, and I was like, money is not the actual problem here. It's the belief that I have that's stopping me from getting the money that I want. And also me just not being in my worth and not valuing myself. And so that's why that was what was getting projected out into the universe. So it's like it didn't matter how hard I worked, I would never believe I was deserving or worthy of having the thing that I wanted. So then I really realized, and now I realize this so much from working with so many people on their money beliefs, is like we don't believe that we're enough to have the thing, and so we don't see why anyone else would pay us for it. And so then we subconsciously block ourselves off from it because we don't believe we're worthy or deserving, or we do behavior like we're discounting a lot, or we struggle to sell to people, or we don't want to even talk about sales or even tell people we have a business because we're not in our worth and we don't believe it's possible for us. And so also I just want to like emphasize, like, if hard work is the only like competitive, I don't like the word competitive, but it's like the only competitive edge, like there's always going to be someone who can work harder than you. So it's like I really want to emphasize, like, the point is not that we need to work harder, it's we need to work smarter, and we need to unblock our subconscious beliefs and our worth, and that's what's going to allow everything to come in. Because when you can really align yourself with like being the person who has what you want, it has to show up for you inevitably. Like, another example I think is so powerful of this is, like, say, like, of how your self-worth is really tied to your net worth is, like, there's some people I know where they have like not a big Instagram following, like maybe like 1,000 followers, and they just show up in their stories and do a couple stories, and then they manage to have like a sold out launch. And it's because of who they're being, it's what they believe, like they believe in their value, they believe in their worth. And then there's some people who, like, they have like every strategy in the book. They have all the bells and whistles, a fancy webinar, copywriters to write their copy, and they don't see success. They launch to crickets because maybe they don't believe in their value, or they don't believe in what they're selling, or they have limiting beliefs around their success or around what money gets to look like for them. So it's like, it's never the outward thing. That's just the thing you're seeing on the surface. It's always about like how you feel about yourself, what you believe about money. And do you guys have any questions on that or anything? How is it landing for you? I just want to give you a second to ask anything. And then also I wanted to kind of give you the tools that I use to shift out of scarcity mode. And so sometimes it's like fear is always going to come up for us. Like, it's like no matter how much you unblock, there's always another level to get to. And so the thing that I really realized is that, like, when it comes to manifesting what you want, the feeling is the most important thing. And so it's like, if you know how to successfully like navigate yourself through triggers or like the fears that you have, and you can get yourself into a place of feeling, yes, 100%. If you can get yourself to a point of feeling like, this is gonna sound so weird, but you get to yourself to a point of being like, I don't even care. Like, if you're just like, it sounds so strange, but if you can get to yourself to a point where, like, if a trigger happens and you're like, you know what, it's fine, I don't care. I don't care if no one shows up. I don't care if anything happens, because I know I'm in the flow of abundance. And yeah, totally. And like, you feel like you're like, money just comes to you through clients or through your business or through your job, but like, that's just the portal for it to coming through. And when you can release for yourself from like the expectation of how it needs to show up for you, then that's when you kind of unlimit yourself in the ways that money can kind of come to you. Because the thing that I really realized is, it's like, okay, say you feel like you're not getting any sales, and then you just kind of keep going down that route of being like, oh my God, I'm not getting any sales, nobody is showing up, nobody is buying. Then you kind of put yourself into a state of fear and like lack and resistance to it. And you need to be able to navigate yourself out of that resistance and fear and lack, because that's what's going to make it so that you're able to draw in the clients. Because the only reason you want something is because of the feeling you think it's going to give you. And I know this sounds like a weird concept, but it's like, what are the things that money gives you? It gives you safety, it gives you security, it gives you options. Oh my God, yay, that makes me so happy to hear. Knowing that you're enough is really like the biggest thing. Like, I think everyone should do a session on feeling like enough, because it's the biggest thing to shift. When you shift that, it's like your entire life shifts. It's incredible. And so when you can get yourself to a point of like releasing the resistance around the thing or the fear of not having it, that's when the thing is able to come through for you. And so I like to think about your relationship to money as like, oh my God, that makes me so happy. I love it. I'm so happy about that. Amazing. I like to think of your relationship to money as like a normal relationship, like to your like boyfriend or your girlfriend or your partner or whatever. So like, if your partner left the house and every time they left the house you were like, where are you going? When are you coming back? who are you going to be with, like all of that. You probably wouldn't have them around for very long because it's like you're not trusting him. You're not trusting him to come back. You're not trusting him to be there for you. And that's just going to push him away. And it's the same with your relationship with money. Like you have to be able to trust it. And I know a lot of us have a lot of like money trauma. And I know sometimes it's like generational or it's ancestral. But we can reprogram it and we can desensitize ourselves to those stressful memories so that it doesn't affect us in the same way, because the thing we have to prioritize is like our vibration, like us feeling good, us being in the vibe of like having what we want. And I like to say this with the caveat that like I don't like when people spiritually bypass and they're like, manifestation just means you have to feel good all the time. That's not what I'm trying to say. 100%, we are human beings. We have the full spectrum of all the emotions that come with that within us, and we need to feel the feelings because whatever you resist persists. So if you're having like a negative feeling around something, like you have to kind of lean into it and be like, okay, where is this coming from? Like feeling the feelings is definitely super important. But sometimes that like fear response or that trigger happens and it's not actually a response to something real, because it's more a response to our thought patterns. Like you can think yourself into a good mood just as easily as you can think yourself into a bad one. How about someone know who blocks shadows roots? There's still... Yeah, absolutely. I would feel like you have to go to your subconscious and start to do some digging in there, because your subconscious always knows the reason for why everything is going on. So I think that's definitely the first place to look, and also doing shadow work, like figuring out why you're triggered by the things. Like at what point did you deny that aspect of yourself? Like I was doing some shadow work recently, and one of the things came up for me was it's like, it sounds so silly now, but it's like feeling like I was a loser. And so I'm like, okay, when was the first time that I felt like this? What was going on for me then? How can I own this word so that it's like I don't get triggered by someone else saying that to me? Because like I like to journal through on it. It's like, okay, when was the first time I felt this way? Am I doing this thing now? And the answer is always no. It's like, of course you're not a loser. But when you can like look into your shadow and see the things that are triggering you, it's almost like they disappear then. Like you're able to dig into it and like see it for what it is. And then it's like you see that it's so much smaller than... Oh, so good. I love that. What was the other thing I was saying? Oh yeah, so it's like when the negative thing happens or like you're triggered by something, it's like usually a response to a thought that's going on. It's a response to like you are like, oh, this thing happened, or I feel this way, or you're like, I don't have enough money. And so when you can manage that trigger, you are so much free to like live your life in a happier, high vibe state, because you have the tools to get out of feeling triggered around money. And because I know a lot of people have like money trauma, and trauma shows up in the way that it's like you're living in the past over and over and over again. You're not able to like rationalize yourself out of it. So when you can heal that trauma, then it's like, then you start to feel good about the thing that used to kind of trigger you before. And it's also about like just getting into the vibe of like feeling gratitude, feeling like you have the thing. The feelings are like the most important thing. The only reason you want anything is because of the feeling it's going to give you. So I always like to think, okay, I want to manifest this. How is that going to make me feel? And then being like, how can I start feeling those feelings now? And one of the ways that I really enjoyed doing this is like I'll kind of write down everything that I kind of loosely am manifesting, like in a kind of area, and I'll be like, okay, what is the predominant feeling I have from feeling that thing? And then I sort of give it like a tagline. Like, for example, when it comes to my business, the one that I've been really like playing with is like effortless abundance. And so instead of like for me going and being like, I want this much money, this much clients, this much, I just keep feeling into the vibe of like effortless abundance, and just keep feeling into like, how does that feel? How does it taste? How does it sound? Like using all of your senses to really start embodying that now. And then also, some of my other favorite techniques that I like to do to get out of like that stress and trigger place is I like to do EFT tapping, which is basically like acupuncture without needles. You're pressing on the different acupressure points on your body, and that helps clear energy. Or I will do another technique called havening. You can look up videos for this on everything on YouTube, but with havening, basically what happens is like you, yes, there is a portion on shadow work, and I absolutely love it. I'm obsessed with shadow work. Like, I do shadow work, and it's like stuff comes through in an incredible way afterwards because when you can just own your stuff, it's like no one else has power over you anymore because you're like, look, I've seen that thing and I'm not worried about it because it's like not even true most of the time. And it stops triggering you in like what other people's actions are as well. It's like it takes a lot of courage and power to look at your shadow. I think a lot of us are scared too because like we feel a lot of shame, we feel a lot of guilt. It's kind of scary to dive into that stuff, but so much power comes from that because like the amount that you've met yourself and like how deeply you can meet yourself is really like the heights that you can rise to. Because when you have that power and like that courage to meet yourself, like whew, it just creates like insane magnetism. And then with havening, basically it works by like you just rub your shoulders like this, and you can just do it for like 5 minutes or whatever. And even if you just want to try it right now, tell me like how amazing it feels. Like you flood your brain with delta waves, which is like a relaxing brainwave state. So anytime I get stressed about something, I will literally just sit there and like do this for a couple of minutes, and you instantly shift into a better feeling state. You're like, oh, I'm not even triggered by that thing. I don't even think about it anymore. So there's a couple, you can look it up on YouTube. There's like tapping for everything. You can look up havening. My favorite woman's video, her name is Michelle Paradise. So if you look up Michelle Paradise havening, I love her technique. It's incredible. It's so powerful. So it's like bringing it back to what I was talking about before, how this relates to money and manifestation is like because we manifest from how we feel about things, it's really like on us to be able to control our emotional state, to choose our thoughts with intention, to be really like intentional around the feeling that we have. Because when we can shift into that better feeling, that's when we're able, right? It feels so good. Like I like to do it for a couple of minutes every morning as part of my morning ritual, and it's powerful. And I think that's the thing that's so empowering too. I'll just type it in the comment box for you. Oops. Like that. And they called it that because it literally feels like a safe haven for your brain. It's just like so powerful for us to take control back of how we feel and not feel like things are just happening to us, because it's like we always have the power to move ourselves into a better feeling or like a better mood, or like to just not be triggered by the things that trigger us before. And sometimes one of the ways I like to work through, like if I maybe have like a trigger or a fear coming up, say you have like a moment where you're like, I'm just scared that I'm not going to make the money that I want, I'll like get into my head the picture, the feeling in my body of like, how does it feel to feel like I don't have the money that I want, like, and I'll amp it up to a 10 so I really feel it in my body. And then I imagine it like dripping out of your body down the drain, and then the water running clear. And then I do the havening technique for like a couple minutes, and afterwards it's like your brain even struggles to make the picture of what you were triggered about. It's really incredible. And it's like I just always want to leave people with like, our emotional state is always up to us. It's up to us to decide how we feel on things and not just be like reactionary to the world around us. Yay! Okay, I will check it afterwards. So excited. And like the reason being able to shift your energetic state is so important is because the universe is always responding to who we are being. So when you can start being the person, oh my God, yes. That's another huge thing too, is because a lot of our triggers come from a place of us not feeling safe and secure. And I think that's why with money triggers, especially because money is so linked to feeling safe and secure, we get triggered in a whole different way because it really threatens our security. And when we start to have our security threatened, it's like, you know how I was talking to you about your amygdala before? It's like your amygdala does what's called amygdala hijacking in response to like being triggered around something that scares you. It immediately like you latch onto like a kind of negative thought, and then your amygdala like thinks you're like on the safari being chased by a lion, and it just hijacks your whole brain and like takes you off in a whole other direction. And that's when you get like those really negative thought spirals and you feel like you just can't shift out of that mood. And it's because we feel like unsafe and like threatened. And so like using these techniques like tapping or havening, like it really does help shift you out of that, and it reminds you you're safe, you're in this moment. It really helps ground you. Yes, totally. It's like giving yourself a hug. I absolutely love it. So I just wanted to see like how is this sounding to everybody? Do you have any questions? Like, and I guess I already sort of talked about this, but I I just wanted to check in with you and see like how is this stuff feeling for you? Like, is this an area you feel like you need help with? Or like, I know a lot of people they get scared because they question like, is this going to work for me? And I feel like that's the wrong question to be asking. Like Tony Robbins always yes, 100%. You totally get it, Bridget, because you fully understand like that side of things. But fight or flight is like not the point that you want to be living from, because then you have like raised cortisol, and then you're going to have like you're going to be in that stress mode, and like nothing good comes from us being in that stress mode. It just like puts us into a place that like it's like that resistance mode, and you're not going to be able to manifest anything good from that point. So that's why it's like a whole body integrative approach. We have to be taking care of our physical body, our mental body, our spiritual body, our emotional body. And when you can get all of those things into alignment, like your life just feels incredible. So what I was saying before with like people asking like, will it work for me? Tony Robbins always says like the quality of your life is determined by the questions you ask. And I think like you need to be asking yourself, am I willing to do everything to like everything it takes to get to where I want to go? Like I think for a lot of us it's a self-sabotage to be like, oh, that worked for another person but it won't work for me, or like I'm questioning on if that's going to work for me. Because you have to decide for yourself that like everything you do, it moves you forwards. And like once you decide that and you check in with your intuition, and you're like, if your intuition says it's a yes, like you will always make the right decision. And I know sometimes people get scared to like invest in themselves, but like we've been talking about on this whole call, like money is a renewable resource, and the only thing that's not renewable out of the resources you have is your time. And so if you're spending your time working away on something because you think it'll be easier for you to just like do it by yourself, or just keep trying to do what you are doing because you're like scared to try it a different way, like your time is the only thing that you aren't going to be able to get back. And it's like I always say, like if someone has a solution for my problem and the only thing I have to do is give them money, like it's always worth it to like shorten that gap of you wanting to get to where you want to go by like investing in yourself in a way that's like going to help you get there. And so I kind of mentioned this before, but my program, it's a one-to-one coaching program. It's 90-day alignment accelerator. And what we do in it is we really move through 3 RTT sessions that are going to help you like raise your worth, feel more confident, and work through your money blocks. And I'm also going to give you like support and guidance in like my absolute no fail manifestation process, which is, oh yeah, I'm so happy to hear that, which is based in neuroscience and psychology. So it's like, yes, it's kind of woo, but I explain the science behind it and how it works in your brain, so that you really are able to almost like override your conscious mind and like show it that like manifestation will work for you. You just need to follow the steps. And we're gonna do the subconscious unblocking so that you'll feel worthy and get everything you want. A lot of coaching programs, they only work with your conscious mind, and that's why I think like your conscious mind is great, but you have to be working with your subconscious to really find out where your stuff is coming from. Because I know that the only reason you haven't manifested what you want is because on some level you don't feel worthy of it, or you have some kind of a limiting belief or block around it. And the thing is we can change that so quickly. And when you open the doors for your subconscious, everything else comes through. So that's kind of what the process looks like. I feel like if you guys want to know more about it or you want to have a chat to see if the 90-day alignment accelerator is right for you, send me a message on Facebook, or you can send me a DM on Instagram. There is one more spot available for the beta pricing, which is $14.97, and there's also payment plans available, so you can get started for $255, which is incredible because currently my RTT sessions are $250, and that's about to go up. So if you really want to get on board and like work with me at that price point, like now is the time to do it. So send me a DM. Would love to chat with you, and we can talk about if we feel like it's a fit. Yes, 100%. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And like I was saying before, I am giving a prize away to everyone who showed up live. So most of you have been commenting already. So if you're here and you haven't commented, like put an emoji or like write your biggest takeaway, and I will send you the prize. And I will find all of you guys afterwards and send you a DM with it, and you just get that for showing up today, because I think the universe rewards people who show up for themselves and show up live, and it's been so much fun chatting with you, so I just wanted to like share that as a gift. I just wanted to check, do you guys have any more questions? Is there anything that I haven't answered for you yet? And while you're typing that, I just wanted to take a moment to tell you like how much I believe in you, and I believe in your highest potential. And I truly believe that everyone is capable of doing anything they desire. The only thing that's holding them back is like what we believe about ourselves. And I know 100% for a fact that any thoughts or feelings you have around feeling like you're not enough or you're not worthy, I know it's just totally not true. You are massively worthy and deserving of all the success that you desire. And even if like this is as far as our interaction goes, like I just want you to know that I like want to support and guide you through. Yay, I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to like support and guide you through like however our interaction goes, whether it's just like DMs on Instagram or you come in the program. I want to be here for you. I want to be that support and like that cheerleader for you, because I think everyone just needs like one person that fully believes in them and what they're capable of. And I really want to be that person for you. So yeah, don't be a stranger. Like reach out on Instagram. I'm always happy to chat. And if that's all the questions we have for today, I think I will probably end it now because we're getting close to an hour. But it was so great chatting with you girls today. I had the best time. And I will see you on the gram. If you want to have a chat on there, I'm always on Instagram. So yeah, reach out even if you just want to say hi. And I hope you have an incredible day. And I will talk to you soon.